It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Rise, Shine. You're on with this Do Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear, for this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you last week? Last week was our first week live on this Do Time with Pastor Steph video live, that is. And we started off shaking the Monday morning blues with the Do Time crew. And we talked about some craziness going on. Yep, we talked about the woman who discussed with her fiance that she wanted to go see her ex. Now we're talking about an ex. Yep, we're talking about an old ex from back in the day when she was like 14, 15, 16, 17, yeah, somewhere like that. He had been in a horrendous car accident and she wanted to go see him. And he was like, nah. And she was like, well, no, I'm sorry. You are not my parent. You are my fiance. And they got into this back and forth. She ended up going anyway. And the dilemma was, he felt that because she went, she had cheated on him. Now, nothing happened when she went to see him. And everybody was like, you know what? Get rid of him. He's got some insecurities. You dodged a bullet. He showed his hand nice and early. You don't have to go through any of that. Yep. You know, sometimes it'll go down like that. God will just let us know what's going on nice and early, and we won't have to worry about a thing. Yep. So that brings us to the switch with Shantice. Our switch tip was sit in God's classroom. See, God teaches you things nice and early if you're always paying attention. And see, if you ever listen to Pastor Steph talk, I always talk about positioning yourself to always hear from God. Position yourself to always learn from God. And that's the only way you're going to pick up things. Yeah, because you're not going to literally sit in a classroom necessarily, but you've always got to be in God's classroom. And I love that switch tip. That's kind of one of my favorite because it makes the most sense. Yes. Well, let's talk about it. Tuesday Church Folk Day rolled around and we ended up talking about the pastor who got up on the pulpit and openly shamed the transgender person sitting in the congregation. Yeah, clearly they must have been sitting there with their, clothes on, their transgender clothes on. So it was pretty evident, what their issue was. And he did ask the person to kind of step out, because his salvation depended on whether he said something or not, or, he wasn't comfortable watching this. And boy, the amen corner was in effect. Yeah, it was in effect. I tell you, it was so annoying to sit and watch and hear people, co-sign the shaming. Yeah. So the Do Time crew did not agree with that behavior because it was not something that was godly. No, not at all. Not at all. We don't treat people like that. We talked about the fact that we did not know how long it took for that individual to show up in the church at all. And now that they're there, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing? Oh no, we can't do stuff like that. Can't do stuff like that. So, thumbs down for the pastor. All right. Well, wow. Wednesday rolled around and our girl Viv was in effect. And yo, she must have been doing her studying for weeks, because man, did she show up with her socially conscious segment. And she talked about the 67-year-old child molester, two times, had been convicted and had failed to register as a sex offender and had been sentenced to 112 plus years. Well, because of something called passion release, passion release law, a judge let him out. Who does that? Who does that? Now, needless to say, this could not have been anything personal with the judge. In other words, what I'm trying to say is clearly nothing like this ever happened, because if it had ever happened in that judge's family, there's no way in the world you would ever have any level of passion to give this person a release. Regardless of what the law was, that person would not have fallen under that. Yeah. Nah. We also talked about the individual who was released, offered to be released by, pardoned by Trump, when all that insurrection was going on January 6th. Yeah, and she said, no, I'm not going to take, the pardon. I'm going to do my little 6 months because I was guilty. Now, it takes a whole lot of people to say no, but hey, she only had 6 months, so it wasn't like she had like 6 years or something like that. But no, lo and behold, she did say no, and excuse me, she took the beating. Which she should have. I mean, she was guilty. Well, Therapeutic Thursday rolled around, and we went back to our ripped from the headlines, and we talked about the woman who had abandoned her daughter at the age of 13 years old. And she was upset because when the young woman got to be marital age, she got married and did not invite mom, who had abandoned her, to the wedding. And she was very upset about it. Well, the Due Time crew says, give her time. You abandoned her when she was 13 years old. She ain't over it yet. Forgiveness is necessary, but listen, it is what it is. She has not forgiven you. Deal with it. Plain and simple as that. Also talked about that woman who was complaining about her ex-addict son, who was snubbing everybody. Yeah, he was above dealing with anything that this world had to offer. He was too good and all of this kind of stuff. And she was like, listen, I'm over it. I don't know what to do. We were like, yeah, well, open up the door and be over it. What are you going to do? I'm not running behind anybody who I helped out, and now you think you're better than me and above the entire family, and you ain't got no time for us. Okay? Yeah, well, Freestyle Friday rolled around and the men were in the house. Yep. And we had a full house too. Everybody was in the house. Well, we talked about the fact that, Super Bowl was coming up, and they were not allowing chests and coolers and bags of a certain size into this zone, but they were allowing the guns. Yes, if you had a permit to have a gun, you and your gun could show up within the zone and it would have been okay. Talk about crazy. Who does that? So you can't bring a bottle of water, but you can bring a gun? Yo, well, leave it to the powers that be to make all kinds of dumb decisions. Yeah. Well, we had a ball on Friday. They did send us into a thought-provoking weekend. As I always say, they did not let us down. And we had a ball. Oh, yeah, we did. Oh, yeah, we did. So, I don't know, y'all. I'm a little bit happy about our first full week. Yes, we had our first full week of being live. It was great. It was absolutely great. And we had no complaints. We really didn't. Not in the grand scheme of things.
It's DEW Time with Pastor Steph.
Today is shaking the Monday morning blues all over again. And I am so happy and I'm grateful that God has allowed us to come through a wonderful weekend unscathed. And we here to do it all over again by the grace of God. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to go get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody that it's DEW Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Get rid of a sore throat fast. Number one, toss your toothbrush. Germs collect on the bristles, and any injury to your gums during brushing can inject those germs into your bloodstream and spread infection. Number two, gargle with salt water to reduce inflammation, swelling, and irritation. Number three, breathe in humidified air, either from a humidifier or a steamy shower. And number four, aim for at least 7 to 9 hours of
Good morning, and a good morning again. Welcome back to It's DEW Time with Pastor Steph, and we are shaking the Monday morning blues. Oh yeah, all over again. We are already here. We are in, the 10th of February. February is already flying by. We just said hello to February last week, but time is not waiting for anybody. So we're live, video live on YouTube and Facebook, and the rules have shifted a little bit since we were on audio live. If you are in the room, hey, check in and let Pastor Steph know that you are in the room, all right? And we got our first check-in, as always, from our girl, Ketty. Hey, Ketty, how are you? Oh, we got our Majesty in the room. Good morning, Majesty. Thank you so much for joining us. Ketty says, I love your shirt. Yes, in honor of Black History Month. It's personalized. It's doing it again. I hope you like it. It's always orderable. Yes, you can order. Just hit us up and let us know, in the chat room that you want to get this shirt. And it's personalized. Will accommodate your request. So thank you so much for the compliment on our shirts. Well, we got a check-in from our girl, Vivian. Good morning, Viv. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Oh, Pastor Kim. I don't know if you're still in the room, but thank you so much for saying good morning. Good morning. It's so nice to see you first thing in the morning. And our girl, Athena. Oh, yeah, our resident nutritionist. Yes, listen, we already got Athena booked for the rest of the year, God spares. So you ain't got nothing to worry about. Yes, go back and listen to some of our older uh, audio episodes with Athena. And when she comes on, I'm going to let you know which weeks you can find her. Love you too, Pastor Kim. Yes. Listen, Pastor Kim, we need you on here. Okay, so God spares, we're gonna talk so we can get you on video live. We miss you, girl. Oh my goodness, we miss you. We miss you. We miss you. Well, listen, we can't go any further unless we say good morning to the ladies that hold it down in the background. We would not have Facebook Live. We would not have YouTube Live if it were not Shantice and Anika. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Shantice. Thank you, Anika. If it weren't for you, we would not be here because Pastor Steph show couldn't do this by herself. All right. Yes. Pastor Kim, we got to get you on. Well, listen. I can't do this. I can't do this without saying this. Okay, so remember I said we couldn't do this without the ladies holding us down in the background. Remember last week I couldn't see the screen and I had to keep pulling the screen closer because I was trying to get a closer screen and it kept giving me this crazy feedback. Well, do you hear any feedback? And Pastor Steph is reading your comments right here. You get to see the whole shirt and the whole 9 yards. So thank you, ladies, for holding me down, and now I can see up close and personal. Well, you know how we do on Monday mornings. We talk about our, what do you call that thing? Our health tips. Well, we got something a little different this morning. I want to talk about some little Black history in honor of Black History Month. I saw a couple of facts that I wanted to bring to your attention. You know, you might know this stuff, but Pastor Steph did not know these couple of things, and we gotta say something about our African American history. Okay, all right. Well, we got. Vermont was the first colony to ban slavery in 1777. Amen. Oh yeah, and oh yeah, as Brother Al would say. Another point, between 1810 and 1850, an estimated 100,000 slaves used the Underground Railroad to escape to the north. Amen. Amen and amen. Yes. What else are we talking about? Hattie McDaniel, yes, became the first Black person to win an Oscar for her supporting role in Gone with the Wind in 1940. Well, Sidney Poitier was the first Black man to win 24 years later for his leading role in Lilies of the Field. So there were some Black people who won before Denzel and Halle and what's his name? My boy, Jamie Foxx. Yeah. Okay. In 1864, Rebecca Lee Crumpler graduated from the New England Female Medical College as the first Black woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. All right. Okay. Baseball legend Jackie Robinson had an older brother, Matthew Mack Robinson. Okay. We never hear about this, who broke the Olympic record in 1936 in the 200-meter dash. However, he took home the silver medal because he finished behind, guess who? Jesse Owens. All right. All right. Oh, okay. Here's something that I did not know. Before becoming a professional musician, Chuck Berry studied to become a hairdresser and had a degree in cosmetology. All right. In 1973, Stevie Wonder was the first Black artist to win a Grammy for Album of the Year for his album Inner Visions. Okay. All right. And the theme song to Public Television's popular children's program, Reading Rainbow, is sung by Chaka Khan. All right. And our girl, Gabby Douglas, became the first black gymnast to win the individual all-around in the 2012 London Olympics. All right. All right. So there's some black history for you. All right. Well, we got to get our literal physical health tips. Remember, if you are in the room, make sure you check in with Pastor Steph. We got to check in from our girl Sherry. Hey, good morning, Sherry. Thank you so much for joining us. We got our check-in from our boy Serge. Yes, our resident NTA employee. And he helps to hold us down with the little bit of information that he brings. Yep. So, hey, Serge. And we got Love. We love you too, Sherry. Thank you so much. Okay, Athena, I'll make sure I give you a call. Yes. I did see over the weekend, I did see your text. I will call you. You know, it's not that bad, y'all. Well, the only way you can get in touch with Pastor Steph is if you're coming through us a little note in the chat. But it's been crazy. And I'm about to tell you why in a minute. But yes, I will. I promise. All right. Let's talk about the common health concerns of African Americans that need to be monitored. Okay. Heart disease. Yes. They say the number one killer of Americans is heart disease. While the rate of heart disease has been steadily decreasing among white Americans since the 70s, the rates are not decreasing for African Americans. So we got to make sure we take care of our heart, ladies and gentlemen. They say, in fact, that African Americans ages 18 to 49 are 2 times more likely to die of heart disease than any other American. Ooh, that's not good. High blood pressure. We're talking about the common health concerns for African Americans. The first one, heart disease, Second one is high blood pressure. Yeah, that silent killer, they say, is hypertension. And they say 1 in 3 African Americans suffer from high blood pressure. High blood pressure is difficult to manage without adequate access to health care. So we got to make sure we take care of ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and get that blood pressure under control, which 99% of the time it is controllable. Okay. All righty. What's the next thing? Cancer. Yeah, another very common health concern for the African American community. They say cancer is the number 2 killer for all races. But African American men are 50% more likely than white men to get lung cancer, and more African American men experience issues such as enlarged prostate and prostate cancer. Wow. They say African American women under the age of 35 see breast cancer rates that are 2 times higher than Caucasian women of the same age, and have 42% higher rate of death from the disease. That's not good. Diabetes. I knew this one was showing up. Diabetes, or high blood sugar, as we know it, is a definite concern for African Americans. And they say who are they're almost twice as likely to be diagnosed with the disease as non-Hispanic whites. Wow. Okay. Stroke. Stroke is on this list. Vascular disease. Yeah. those diseases that affect your arteries and your veins. They say also disproportionately affect African Americans. Stroke impacts African Americans more than any other racial group, y'all. They say, sadly, African Americans are twice as likely to die from stroke as Caucasians, and more likely to become disabled and experience difficulties with daily activities if they survive a stroke. Peripheral artery disease. Let's do that again. Peripheral artery disease, PAD, which is a condition that develops when your arteries become clogged with fatty deposits that can limit circulation. It affects 1 in every 20 Americans over the age of 50. This PAD is more common in African Americans than any other racial or ethnic group in the United States. Wow. Now, they're also citing diabetes and high blood pressure, which attribute, and contribute to PAD. So see if we get these other things worked on, then we'll bring some of the other stuff down. Sickle cell disease, yes. Something else that is more common in African Americans than white Americans. They say white Americans rarely develop this disease, while 1 in every 500 African Americans will develop this disease. All right. And they say this condition affects more than 90,000 Americans. Wow. So let's take care of ourselves. Let's take care of ourselves. We normally get those health tips on Mondays and Thursdays that help us to keep ourselves together. So we learn how to eat over here on His Due Time with Pastor Steph. We'll learn what not to eat over here on His Due Time with Pastor Steph. And these things can definitely help us with all of these diseases that we talked about here. Yeah. The only thing that you really can't manage with your diet is sickle cell. Yeah. It ain't got nothing to do with your health or your eating. But all this other stuff can have something to do with the way you eat. Heart disease, high blood pressure, cancer, diabetes, stroke, PAD, which is the peripheral artery disease. Yeah, that has something to do with what you put in your body. And like I said, I'm going to get our dates that we had our girl Athena on with us, our sister. And she really was instrumental in helping us to figure out what we need to eat and what we need to stay away from. All righty? All righty. So what we talking about this morning in regards to our news? Well, there for the zoo. Wow. That was some kind of game. As a Kansas City router, whatever. Yeah, it came on yesterday and I was like, here go KC, goes to KC. They got slaughtered. Yeah, for the most of the game, they had 0. Yes. Patrick Mahomes was not good. Travis Kelce wasn't good. They did not show up last night. No, at all. We were told by somebody in the room that Patrick Mahomes is a second quarter and definitely a fourth quarter comeback king. And I gotta tell y'all, I ain't see the first sign of him coming back at all. And yeah, he wasn't all that great. No, at all. Wasn't all that great at all. No. So, go Eagles. Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles. They showed up. They showed out. They did their thing. They did. They were really good. Normally I go for like whoever's playing and representing the East Coast, but I had my heart on KC going for number 3. They've been in the Super Bowl for 3 rounds. Well, yeah, that was their 3rd consecutive time being there. 2 consecutive times they won. And I was like, come on, let's go for number 3. Let's go for number 3. And they didn't come through. So, now I gotta tell y'all, the Kendrick Lamar halftime show was on point. Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was on point. I gotta tell you, as a person who has always, done a little performing arts thing, and I've been, in the, on the top of putting up productions and things like that, I am definitely respecting the show. The choreography was on point. The dancers, man, who choreographed that show? They did their thing. I gotta tell you, I don't care what people say, because I gotta tell you, last night in the news, trying to get news for today, there was nothing in the news more than Kendrick Lamar dissing Drake openly, as he had the exes in the house, and Serena was actually dancing, and she didn't look bad either, and her legs looked super long, y'all. I was like, yo, I know the girls are tall, but her and her sister Venus, but man, them legs were long doing her little. Yeah, she looked good though. I gotta tell you, she looked good. I can't think of the other name. Was it SZA? Am I saying it right? My granddaughter knew the name, and she was like, "Mama, you don't know who?" Yes, SZA. You don't know who she is? I was like, "No, Mariah, I don't know who she is." And she was good. But here was my favorite part. I am definitely a Samuel L. Jackson individual. And to bring him in as like Uncle Sam, it was on point. It was definitely on point. Yes, I really enjoyed him. And Sam is going to bring it. I don't care what he does, he is going to bring it. And you know what? I could really appreciate him last night. I could really, really, really appreciate him last night. Well, I want to give y'all some of the responses to the performance by Kendrick Lamar. Let's see. They said, this man, Kendrick Lamar, just smiled in the camera after cooking Drake. Oh my goodness. They said that was the pettiest ish ever. I'm inspired. Wow. They never fail you. They never fail you. They never failed you. They never failed you. Listen, if you watch the Super Bowl halftime show, put it in the chat room and let me know what you think. Let me know what what you feel. It was like, was it good? Was it bad? Because I got some comments here I'm getting ready to read, and they were quite interesting. A lot of people talked about the fact that he looked in the camera and went, "Say Drake." Yeah, they really talked about that one. Somebody said tears in my eyes. They said not the stadium screaming A minor while Serena crip walked. Help, nurse. What else? Kendrick called Drake a pedophile in front of the whole world. They say Samuel L. Jackson being a part of Kendrick's performance was absolute genius. Yes, it was. It was a genius move. I thought so. That's just Stephanie. All right. Let's see. Serena Williams crip walking on national television to a diss record for one of her exes. You cannot make this up. All righty. They say that it was a boring halftime show. They say the amount of songs he did not perform in order to cater to the drama is what's gagging me the most. Ben Stiller wrote best halftime show ever. Wow. Oh, wow. Let me pull up some of the other comments that I thought were really, really interesting. Now, for some reason, they had this whole big issue with MAGA. They were like, MAGA was very, very, very upset with the fact that the halftime show was so bad. And my thing was, what do you care about a halftime show? We got a whole world that you need to be worrying about. Y'all worried about a halftime show like that's going to change the world? Who's going to cut your grass next week is the question. I advise you to think about that one. All righty. Where's my comments? Well, I can't get my comments here. My comments won't come up, y'all. Let me see. They were not very complimenting of Kendrick Lamar's performance. Yeah, they trashed him. You know who trashed him, right? Yeah, they did. They trashed him. Let's see what y'all have to say about the halftime show. Where's my I'm really not doing well here today. I'm like all over the place. Let's see what's going on. Let me see what's going on. I don't know why my stuff is disappearing. Let's see. Yeah, it's disappearing for real. It's definitely not here. But let me see. Give me a minute. Yeah, this is the technical difficulties you have when you are on live and you're trying to rely on the technology. All right, let's see. Yeah. Yes, sir. Some people are saying he was boring. And a nigga says, I love the halftime show. The dances and camera work was great. I agree. They did their thing last night. They really did. I really did enjoy them. I think that was much better than Usher last year on the roller skates. Yes, I was definitely not feeling him last year. I was bored out of my ever-loving mind last year. And that's when Usher had his residency in, what do you call that place? He had his residency in Vegas. And I thought he was boring as heck. Yeah, I did. I surely did. I thought he was boring. So what else are we talking about in the news? Let's see. Whoa! Talk about some news. Trump made a big move. He removed security clearances for Alvin Bragg. Yeah, if you're from New York, you know Alvin Bragg. If you listen to It's Due Time, you know Alvin Bragg. He is the Manhattan DA who was letting all them people walk, those criminals. And he snapped away the security clearance for New York Attorney General Letitia James. Yep. He's a creep. He is such a creep. You know why he did that? Well, I know why he did it for Letitia James, because she was the one who was smashing him all last year, over his criminalistic behavior. And she said she was going to go after him. Well, what better way to get back? Snatch her security clearance. You won't be doing nothing to nobody if you ain't got no security clearance. You better believe that. Well, what else are we talking about? On Alaska Airlines. Boy, was there a throwdown on Alaska Airlines. You've got this flight attendant who really stepped in. Yeah. And you don't hear this happening very often. So what ended up happening was, or I should say, it started off where there was a passenger, a male passenger, who attacked a female passenger. And the witnesses say, the people that were sitting around them said that he was really cutting up. Really cutting up. And he ended up attacking the woman. And this male flight attendant jumped in, yes, and started throwing punches. And he really had to at one point go into overdrive as he even struck him in the throat. Yeah. He had to even strike him like in that area, because his punches he wouldn't let go of the woman. So, and his punches weren't doing a thing at one point. So they say that he ended up getting control of the man, and some other people like pulled her out from the row, and some other people helped hold him down. And that was the only way they could gain control of this individual. But had it not been for this flight attendant who stepped in, then it wouldn't have worked. No. And that's scary. That is really scary, because who wants to have to go through this on a flight? You pay your money and you end up being attacked, and they said, yeah, this guy had some mental illness breakdown. Man, I don't know, y'all. Well, I don't know. The next thing we're going to hear is that there's going to be a lawsuit. Well, here's the problem. Where's the lawsuit going to be placed? Is it going to be the woman who's placing the lawsuit against the man and the airlines, or is it going to be the man who's pressing the charges against the flight attendant and the airlines? Because I don't have to tell you that he is definitely going to be talking about the fact that he was injured majorly when he was attacked. Yeah, that's the way he's going to put it, I'm sure. That's the way he's going to put it. Well. Our final little piece of news story today is one that takes the cake. Talk about overboard. So, guess what Trump is targeting next? The Department of Education. They say he's been after the Department of Education ever since his first term. And he said he could not wait to get in this second term so that that would be the first thing he attacks. Well, here's the problem number two, because him just attacking, the Department of Education in and of itself is sad. He wants to cut the Department of Education's funds for federal money because of the money that the federal government gives to the Department of Education. How do you possibly target that? Well, here's the problem, New Yorkers. What's her name? Kathy Hochul and the Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. They said that if he attacks the DOE's funds, guess what's going to be attacked? Our property taxes. Yeah. Those of us who own homes, those of us who own businesses in New York, that's where they're going. They're going to definitely attack that. They say, because really, there's no other place to get it from. There's no other place to replace that money from. And that's a little too much for me. Yeah, that is definitely a little too much for me. But they say that's exactly where he's going. That's exactly where he's going. And that's where Hochul is going. And he's not mincing any words as to who he is attacking. Wow. Where's my due time crew? We got to talk about this thing. Let's say good morning to our girl, Tamika. Good morning, Tamika.
Monday morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well rested and ready for the day.
All right. Now listen, here's what's funny. Hearing this Monday morning, looking at you is a whole lot different than hearing Monday morning. Yes, I'm enjoying this visual of this jingle.
I love it.
So thank you. All right, what are we talking about today? Well, let's get the regular people out of the way. Talk about this people on the airline, on the flight, where the guy is attacking the woman and wouldn't let her go, despite the fact that the flight attendant was trying to pull him off of her for the longest time. And now he has to end up throwing blows, even something like to the throat, to get him off of this woman. Can you imagine being attacked so brutally?
That is some serious kind of fight. All I wanted to do was just take my flight. I wanted to get to my final destination. You're not expecting that. You're just sitting there minding your business, reading your book. If you're anything like me, I try to tune out, put on my headphones or read, because I don't know you that well. And I'm not really I'm just trying to get from point A to point B. You minding your business and all of a sudden you get attacked. I mean, it's not just a little tap. This guy literally is coming to blows trying to solve this situation. We really know that, people are real unstable. And at any moment, you can become a target. But it's sad that you should have to deal with that, of all places, on the plane. I'm minding my business. Of course, my heart goes out to all of the individuals. This flight attendant is, again, doing his job. This is what he gets paid to do. He wasn't expecting that to transpire, but in order to rescue this lady, listen, I'm not just going to stand by and idly allow her to get pummeled. He came in and tried to do the best that he could. And at that point, that's what he felt was the best thing.
Absolutely. I got a question for you. This is the day of lawsuits. Lawsuit. Do you think that she's going to sue, and would it make sense to sue the airlines? That's my question.
Well, I mean, in actuality, it's not the airline's fault. It's the gentleman who pummeled her, and so, but, you find that a lot of lawsuits come out because of that, but I don't think that she would have a leg to stand on by suing the airline. I
Mhm,
think she would
mhm.
legitimately have to sue the person who injured her.
I agree. I agree. But these are the days where everybody gets sued, whether you have some justifiable, support or not. But everybody's going for the lawsuit. All right. Let's talk about this the removal of the security clearance for Alvin Bragg and Letitia James. Now here's the thing. They don't say why, Tamika. He is he pulled the rug from underneath, because they weren't the only two, but those are the only two that we've talked about in the past, and that would be relevant to this show. But why Alvin Bragg? We know why Letitia James. But does this show, they just got finished talking about Kendrick Lamar being petty against Drake. Is this petty or what?
So very petty. I hate to say it, but I have to. This president is very petty. He to me, he can be compared to a child. His emotions are unstable. You do something to me, I just gotta do something to you. Even if you say something, I gotta say something back. You're not adult enough to be able to say, okay, you know what, you had that, okay, fine. But I'm not surprised, when it comes to Letitia James, and he has, in one way or another, mentioned how he feels about Bragg. So it wouldn't surprise me that those two names, are the two that are affected with the security clearance.
Yeah. I'm I'm not, like I said, the Alvin Bragg, that Letitia James, yeah, he was pulling the rug from underneath her feet, because she was after him, and she was, even since he's been elected president, she was like, I'm not cutting him no slack. I'm still going after him. So now, yes, the petty in me says I snatched all her security clearance. Now listen, if you was about it as they used to say, you would just go ahead and let her do her thing. Because if you were okay with what you've done, go ahead and let her do her job. What would it bother you? It shouldn't bother you at all. So, that just shows how petty he is. Well, I want to ask you, how do you feel about the fact that he's targeting Trump is targeting to get rid of the DOE, and now Hochul is going to hit the property owners tax and the businesses to pay for what he's snatching?
I'm already agitated with that, because we are property owners here, and so I'll be honest, just paying taxes by itself outside of any other utility, it's not cheap. And every few years they change something, they transition, oh, this because of that, and then there's this extra fee. Now you're talking about messing with people's livelihoods. Some people are already struggling, depending on what it is, that how you make your means. It may be a difficulty for you to get property taxes. Now you're talking about pulling it up and making it more. You're gonna have a fight on your hands.
Yep. I have to tell you, I just got my property tax assessment over, I think, like January. I got mine, and I was like, oh, I was looking at the numbers, girl. I was like, oh my goodness. And now you tell me, because I've been here for 30 years, like I say all the time, and I got to tell you, then and now is truly different. And now you're telling me you about to go up, because this is the only place you can hit. That's crazy. That is
You
straight
better find you
crazy.
someplace else to get that money from. Over here,
Yeah,
over there,
yeah,
over there, not here.
yeah. Yeah, because that's not fair. That's not fair.
It's not.
That's not fair at all. That's not fair at all. Because here's what they're saying, why they're targeting your property taxes, because That's included. The schools are included in our property taxes. So that's why we're taking the hit as homeowners. So and businesses. That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, again, if you're in the room, make sure you check in and let Pastor Steph and the Due Time crew know that you're here with us. Say hello. We got a check-in from our boy Terrence. I was wondering where you at. Hey, Terrence. Good morning. We got a check-in from our girl Kiwi. Come on in. How are you? Thank you all for joining us. Let's see. I forgot to ask you. Did you look at Super Bowl last night? The halftime show.
I did.
What's your rating?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. One of the things that I liked was when I first started seeing the white outfits. I said, "Okay, what's that?" Then when they came across each other and displayed the flag, some people didn't see it, and I was like, "Oh, that's the flag!" With Kendrick Lamar right in the middle. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." I enjoyed Uncle Sam. And one of the other things that I liked was that it wasn't overboard. Sometimes they go too far. You coming from a plane way up there. Okay. It was right there displayed on our face, and it wasn't over the board. I liked the arm movements and the body movements and the head movements. I enjoyed it.
Okay, yes. I loved it. I loved it too. I thought it was genius to even put in, when they did the flag, they had the blue up in the corner and the red and white stripes. It was hot. It was really hot. The choreography was on point.
I even noticed, I don't know if you noticed, like, if you look, there was a couple of redheads. Some, to make it that display right, there was one guy who had his head dyed red. Then there was another one. I was like, this is someone who's got color. I was like, oh yes, that's
yes. Somebody had their scarf that was on their head. That was yes. It was really good. I agree. I really thought it was very creative what they did. We were asking what people thought. Vivian says he did his thing. I love the simplicity. He didn't try to do too much, but it was still visually pleasing. And I loved that he still sang that song and did so with a smile. So again, like you said, Tamika, Vivian said he didn't do too much. Serge is laughing when I said, go find out who's cutting your grass next week because ain't nobody gonna be here. We got Shantice who says, Kendrick Lamar made me fall in love with him all over again. Okay. She's laughing at my body. Shut up, girl. Hey there. 10 out of 10. She says, I love K. Dot. Yes. He did his thing. All right. Thank you for
how he taunted us with that. Because at first I thought he wasn't going to sing it because I was like, oh no, he's not going to sing it because of all the stuff that's going on. And they said, you going to do it? Nah. Because they want to sue. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Yes. The threat of the lawsuit. Nobody really knew. And some people's like, he's going to do it or he's not going to do it. I don't think a lawsuit was going to bother him personally. I didn't think it was. And I'm glad he didn't. It was done. It was done well. He threw the X's back up and people said it was petty. But listen, that's show business, right? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's say good morning to our Pastor KL. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning, ladies. How you doing?
All right, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's funny how Tamika noticed the colors of their hair. I wonder why.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yes,
she was getting ideas. Did you
watch the Super Bowl at all?
No, I'm not. I'm not a football fan at all.
So you didn't even watch it for the for the halftime show?
No, not at all.
No commercials, nothing.
Nothing. I'm sorry.
Well, I have to tell you, the commercials were straight whack. Straight whackada, whackada, tackada, lackada. They were straight whack. You know, years ago, that was one of the highlights of watching the Super Bowl. Do y'all remember? They were like, they had built up this whole campaign about what the commercials were going to be. What was the best commercial after the Super Bowl? That was a whole big thing about what was the best commercial. Wow.
Listen, back in my days, the best thing about the Super Bowl was McDonald's had the cheeseburgers for 69 cents and the hamburgers for 59 cents. That was the best thing for the Super Bowl.
I don't even remember that.
Wow,
I don't even remember that.
Oh man, I used to buy about a dozen. I used to buy them by the dozen.
Wow. That was the first thing. I don't even remember that. Wow. Terrence says, love the details in that performance. Yes. The choreography was really on point. Really on point. All right, Pastor KL. We're talking about the Alaska Airlines flight attendant who had to take up for the passenger, which I personally thought was really good because they normally don't really step up. That's the biggest complaint. Oh, they didn't do enough and so forth and so on. Well, he did. And he ended up being the one who calmed down this whole thing because the guy would not let this woman go. Well, he ended up getting some help and they ended up getting the guy off of the passenger. What's your thought? Do you think somebody's going to be trying to sue now? And if so, where does the lawsuit lie?
I think the airlines get sued twice by both people. You know, first of all, the young man, even in his bravery, you know, he works for the airlines, so he's covered by the airlines. You know what I mean? If you come in my store and my cashier slaps you, you know, yeah, you can sue her, but you're also going to sue the store, you know, because they're under the umbrella of the company, you know. And for the woman who got, you know, strangled or whatever, to me, that's still a lawsuit too, because now I'm in your airport. You're supposed to keep me safe, you know. So I think that the airlines is going to get killed because at both junctures, they can lose money.
Okay. I mean, it's really a bad thing because, you know, yes, you're right. It happened on the property of, you know, American Airlines. But like I'm with Tamika's, like, how would you know somebody's gonna bust off and now attack your a passenger? So it's really bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, but let's look at it from this way. New York has a lot of snow. And let's just say it's snowing now, and I haven't been able to get out there, but I come and I slip on your sidewalk. I didn't push you. The snow did. Can you sue the snow? You know what I mean? The snow is coming down now, so now you got into an accident. Usually we don't shovel until after it subsides. So you happen to fall, you on my property, so you can sue me.
Well, let me help you understand something that they have pushed in New York City. You cannot sue within a certain amount of time. Amen.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Well, that's great.
Yes, they have to give you a certain amount of time to have shoveled. So
okay.
And you know what? It's probably because they did. You're right. A whole lot of people were slipping and falling on your property, and now people were saying, hey, and you know, listen, I'm not really against that part about, you know, you fall on somebody's property, but I do agree that you really need to give people a chance to really get out there. Like you said, I haven't had a chance to shovel. If I was at work, I don't have time to shovel, but they did implement that where there's a certain amount of time from the time the snow has dropped that people can sue you. Yeah, it's not automatic anymore. Yeah, okay. So yes.
Great.
Speaking of property, so you have Hochul, the governor, who is now saying since Trump is attacking the DOE and talking about pulling funds from the DOE, that she's going to go after the money from the property owners of homes and business owners. Is that fair?
No, I shouldn't be a part of your fight. You know that I shouldn't be in the middle. That's like mommy and daddy fighting, and now daddy don't want to see the child because I can't stand mommy. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm gonna go over here and have be with another woman who already got kids, and I'm gonna take care of their kids. And so I'm gonna take money from my child to put money in your child because I can't stand my child's mama.
Yeah, yeah. It is. We're caught in the crossfire of it all, and no, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. Like I said a little while ago to Tamika, when we pay our property taxes, that covers the schools. So that's her theory. Well, since that's where we get the money from, we might as well go to the homeowners. But here's the thing, sometimes you place a threat and you say, well, we're threatening that if you do this, we're going to do that, and it matters to the person. It don't matter to him. It doesn't matter to him. So who cares? He doesn't care about the homeowners and the business owners of New York City.
Right.
Who cares? Who cares? He sure doesn't. All right. And Letitia James and Alvin Bragg is on his hit list, and Trump just got finished pulling their security clearance. We talked about petty. Do you think this is petty?
Oh, that's beyond petty. That's beyond petty. And he's trying to take power away because he knows she was coming after him. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's real petty because obviously she had good enough stuff that she could have won. You know what I mean? So and the table was tilted. You know what I mean? It was already an uneven plane. So now I take away your clearance. You can only use what you use, if you can use it at all at this point.
Right. What you gonna use? What are you gonna use if you can't see nothing?
Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Tamika and Pastor KL, for indulging me on our news. You know what today is. It is Relationship Monday. And our topic today, they say, you need to be real careful when you're dating a man who's recently separated, because there's some issues that are lurking. So I want to see what the ladies and the gentlemen say. But before we go there, let me just check our last, comment. Serge says, if she's going after the insurance corporations or the insurance companies, then yeah, I agree. Stay away from the homeowners. Yeah. But she's not mentioning going after any of the insurance companies or corporations. So shame on her. All righty. Thank you for your comments. All right. So they gave us some reasons why we need to be real careful when we date men who are recently separated. And one of the things they're talking about is he thinks he's ready to date, but he's not. And they are talking about the fact that he hasn't quite, put his head into a new relationship because he's still left up in an old relationship. What do you say, Tamika? Would you agree?
Absolutely, no surprise. You trying to do stuff, and he's got this mentality, of what happened in the past, but I'm not her. I don't think like her, I don't act like her, I don't do the things that she used to do. But because your mindset is still on that past, you're expecting me to fit her mold. However, I'm different. And so whenever I start to do or start to be myself, you cause an issue because you're still in that mindset of the past. You've got to give yourself time. One of the things that is major, you have to give yourself time to just be. A lot of times, sometimes people get into a relationship They get out of one and they jump right into another one, not allowing themselves to heal from the first relationship. So what you end up doing is tagging along with the current relationship, causing issues with the new one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pastor KL, what say you?
Anytime there's a fire, anytime something burns down, there is still residue. You know, a lot of times when you come out of a relationship, it's because you've gotten burnt or you've gotten tired. And no matter what the house looks like now, if you go around the house, there's still residue and stuff that's going to remind you of the old. And until you can get this out of your mind and get a clear space, a new relationship is definitely not going to work. You know, because there's going to be certain things that you do unknowing to you that reminds me of my hurt, of my past. And now I'm going to take it out on you, which it has no place in your lap because I have not forgiven or forgotten what I've gone through.
Yep. I agree with the both of you. Let me ask you, Tamika, have you ever been in a situation where you moved forward, excuse me, and you thought you were ready to date, and then you realized that you weren't, and how did you figure it out?
I have not. I thank God that I've always been able to have that time. The Lord instructs me on what to do, and thank God I've always been saved in that instance.
Okay. Pastor KL, what about you? Have you ever moved forward and realized later, you know, I really wasn't ready to go forward?
Well, I've actually moved forward one day, just for one day. I invited someone over. I made dinner, and she talked about, well, maybe I'm gonna have to keep a bag in the car in case I got to spend the night. So once you start talking about moving in and stuff after the first day, I knew I wasn't ready. No. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? It was only lasagna. You know what I mean? What happened about something else?
Maybe it was the bomb lasagna.
Man.
Enough to pack a bag? Oh, I don't know. What kind of lasagna? That made me pack a whole bag.
I guess it was the 4 cheeses.
Maybe she wasn't used to anything outside of a can.
And you know what, Tamika, as we spoke, and I shared this with Pastor Steph, as we spoke, and I heard her conversation, she was oohing and ahhing about a whole lot of things, and I'm like, they're not used to anything. But from when you see her, she doesn't look like that person, you know. But when you see her and speak to her, Lord Jesus, she had to go back to the hillbillies.
Oh my goodness. Terrence says it's 50-50, but it all depends on how the breakup went. And he says Pastor always has the great metaphors. All right, Pastor KL. There go you and Terrence again today.
My guy. I love you, Terrence.
Oh my goodness.
Call me later.
All right. They talk about the next thing. Why is this always freezing up on me? They talk about the next thing. They said, you know he's not ready. Excuse me. He's not ready to date after he's been recently separated, when he has one foot in the door of a marital household, if he's even out at all. Ooh, Tamika, what we talking about here?
You ain't listen. I want to be able to celebrate such and such, but that's the day that you, I don't know, let's just say Thanksgiving. Let's say we're trying to celebrate Thanksgiving. Oh, I get the day after or the day before, because you still, back and forth. Oh, well, I got, and it's even funnier. It's one thing when you got children. It's another thing. You have no children with this woman, but you're spending, wait a minute. How in the world does that work? And understand that when you that side piece, you gotta accept that, especially considering the fact you haven't finalized your divorce, you still back and forth, or you saying you giving all these different excuses of why you can't be with me. Understand you know, that if this is the type of relationship that you're engaging in, he's not fully out, you know, and so you are kind of back and forth. That's not a way that, you know, you have to value yourself more than that, than, you know, to keep accepting that type of behavior.
Absolutely. Well, Pastor Carol, they say he's not quite ready to move on after he's been recently separated, but he's got one foot in the marital household, if he's even out at all. Excuse me.
Well, first of all, we have to understand, I mean, and this goes for men as well as women. There's a difference between divorce and separation. You know, separation does not constitute a divorce. Sometimes you just left the house for a little while and you keep coming back and forth and you dipping and dabbing, but technically we ain't together, we separated. But I still have marital responsibilities in that house. So if I have to still take care of responsibilities, listen, I don't care what y'all say, a side piece is expensive. And if I'm paying for a wife piece and a side piece, I have no peace at all.
Did he just say that? Did he just say he has no peace at all?
No peace.
Oh, I can't. You know, you made us a thing with this separation versus divorce, and in this instance, I'm sure they're not talking about that technical piece, although what you're saying is actually correct. But let's talk about that. Let's take a pin there for a minute. When it comes to this, well, you're married. Then why are you even starting? Why are you even starting? Whether the side piece is expensive or cheap. Why are we starting if you still in the house? Because you got some people that talk about, well, you know, I'm still there for the kids. You know, we not together, but we, you know, I gotta stay there. We thought it was better. Oh my gosh, why even bother to make up?
Yeah, and even on the receiving end of that, you know that at the end of the day, he or she is going back home. You know, why do you allow yourselves to go through that? And you know, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, because, you know, in my past, you know, I dabbled in that. You know, what made me do that, I can't tell you now. You know, but you know, the fact that at the end of the day, that person is not going to spend all that time. There's going to be some times where you're going to want to do something, and you're going to have to be placed on the back burner. You know, and so, you know, you have to be able to value yourself enough to say, okay, enough is enough. What I'm not going to do is this. You know, what we're not going to do. You know, and then my thing is, if you're not completely happy in your marriage, you know, you have to decide what it is that you're going to do. You can't play both. You need, because what ends up happening is you burning the candle at both ends, and guess who ends up in the end getting burnt? The person in the middle.
Yeah. You know, my thing is, why even bother, Pastor KL? Excuse me.
Well, to Mika's point, the person that gets burnt is still both the women. He don't get burnt because, you know, the wife is hoping that we can reconcile, but I can't give you all the attention because I've already focused attention on someone else. So now I may not want to be holy with this other person, but because she doesn't nag me, and seemingly she appreciates who I am, you know what I mean, just because it's something new for her, I'm not really thinking about reconciling with you. But you got hope that we're going to come together. Now, I really don't want you, my side piece, but I'm dealing with you because you don't nag, and I don't really want you, my wife, because I'm tired of you nagging. So the people that really suffer is the two women.
So you don't think that you suffer in that, because you just said to me, you got the dilemma. You're dealing with this woman that you don't really want, and you're dealing with this one because she suffices that need temporarily. So in actuality, you are going through it.
I don't suffer because at any time I can walk away, because in my mind, I have no commitment to either one of you. I've already left you as my wife because I got tired of you for whatever reason. And now I'm dealing with you because you're there. Not because I really want you. It's because you don't nag me. You don't bother me. You don't ask me for all this stuff. So the time that you begin to do that, I start looking at you like her, and I leave you too. It was easy for me to leave my wife. How much easier do you think it would be for me to leave you? And I'm not committed.
You know what? I agree with Tamika. You are suffering because you're running between the two people.
Absolutely.
Trying to figure out which one is going to make you happy today. Because
Today.
right. So listen, you are suffering because listen, if we got to live this thing day by day by day, that ain't nobody who's got no peace of mind. So like you said earlier, I have no peace. So I agree with her 100%. You, the one who suffers, outwardly, excuse me, the one that suffers outwardly, you're absolutely right, the two ladies. But there's some suffering going on. And that's what this whole conversation actually is about. Why he can't move on despite the fact that he's separated. Well, he can't move on because, let me tell you something. I'm not believing for 1 minute that y'all don't play both sides of the fence either. This one here, she's all right. She's not nagging me today. So she's tolerable. But now, at the first sign that the side piece becomes a nag, now you busting off and you running.
That's what I said.
There's some, but there is right. That's what I'm saying. Tamika just said it. Your words are saying that there's some suffering, but you're not saying I'm suffering. But in actuality, you are suffering because you're running between the two, trying to figure out what's going to work best for you today. So, this is something that is not so simplistic after all. I do believe, somebody said mental gymnastics. Wait a minute. Shati says, how you walking away with no legs? Okay. And Anika said, mental gymnastics.
So let me ask you a question. I'm on this podcast with Pastor Steph, and we're doing well. And Pastor Steph is offering me all this stuff. And then I have another podcast who's offering me more. And I decide just to be low down, hey, Pastor, I got to go because they offering me more. How am I losing? I'm not the one in pain. I got to go with the best interest for me. Because if I'm just thinking about me at this point, then I got to do what's best for me.
But you haven't made a decision with the women. You made a decision with the podcast, but you haven't made a decision with the women.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
No,
I don't agree because you're talking about your emotions. When you're dealing with two women, there's some feelings up in there. It ain't just all sex. There's some emotions in there. And so when you have one person who's not nagging you and you can lay your head down, there's some peace of mind at that time. Then you go back home and there's some peace of mind at that time. But each woman is going to give you or provide a level of stress.
Okay, so and I love this conversation. So because Tamika, you giving me a peace of mind, then when I go home, I'm fine. Because I gotta. So whatever she says at that point, I can ignore it because my tension is not high. Because I have a peace of mind now. Now, if I stay there too many days, then your peace of mind that you're giving me has worn off. So now I got to get away from there.
When you come back to the side piece, trust and believe. She's going to give you stress because
right.
You said to me that this relationship is, you over it. Now I can't spend time with you on this particular day or this particular hour because you got to go back home. You're going to get a level of stress. Or let's just say, for instance, you at my house and you make a phone call and she's the one that you're speaking to. Now there's a level of stress with me. So then you go back home. So again, you still at one time, there's going to be some, I can't go here. Can't go there. So there is some avenue where it's like, oh God, no peace at all.
Right.
I'm gonna let you win on that one. I ain't got nothing behind that one. You won on that one. Touche.
Well, that's what we've been saying all along. That's what I've been saying all along. When you're going between the two people, at one point, each one is going to offer a level of peace. And at one point, each person is going to offer a level of stress. And because you always running for the peace and running away from the stress, you always going to be running. So there ain't going to be no rest. And at the end of the day, ain't nobody going to be happy. So you are the common denominator that's causing all this problem. Because if you want to simply leave, like you said with the podcast, you said with the podcast, well, Pastor Steph, Tamika's podcast is offering me more money. So I'm out. That would be the right thing to do. Go ahead about your business and make your decision. But when you're trying to straddle the fence, that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. Okay, so we got Anika who's saying that's a level of suffering, not settled, no peace. Auntie says, let the side piece get a side piece. And watch how all the emotions get exposed. Anika says that hole in the moment, it feels good. Attitude is what gets folk in trouble. It's temporary. So yeah, that running back and forth, that's gonna wear out after a while. That's going to be real early. All right. They say one of the reasons why you got to be careful with a man who's not recently separated is because he's still struggling with the divorce. So, Pastor KL, struggling with the divorce period leaves you a level of being unsettled. Let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah, that's a difficult place because there's a hole. It's almost like there's a void that can't be filled, and you start examining yourself on what was it me? Was it something that I did? Or you become to a point where you just want to be a whole because you don't care no more. You understand what I'm saying? Because depending on how many years you was in this marriage, you almost feel like I wasted all this time. So no one is going to be able to get that again. So let me just run through women. Let me, I was better in my former life. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was doing the right thing and it didn't work out. So it depends on where your mind is coming out of it. Whether you blame yourself or whether you just say, for lack of a better term, to hell with all this. Let me just do me.
Right. And that's why it's really hard to deal with a man who just got out of a divorce because he may not have settled with the fact that he's divorced yet. And that's going to cause a whole lot of calamity, the relationship. Terrence says, I agree with the pastor due to the situation because he's not with his wife. He's there for the kids. Side piece can go down due to the fact that he's not with her. Love or stress at all. And none of the women in his future will be shocked when he finds the one that he gets. Absolutely.
And let me tell you one more thing, Pastor Steph. Whether you're married or getting out of a marriage or getting out of a relationship, every man is okay with the separation, with the divorce, with the getting out of the relationship until they see that woman on another man's arm. Then it hits them. Then reality hits. Once you say divorce and I'm divorced, it's fine. But when you see that she or he has moved on, yeah, then that's when it hits. The divorce don't hit you until the reality hits. The divorce is not reality. It's just a signed paper.
Right. And that's always what Shanti says. That's always her point. Her point is once the reality hits that she's doing, now you all, now the whole world is shaken up.
Right.
Definitely. We got you're right, Pastor Gail. All right. Another reason why they bring it up, you got to be careful when dating a man who's recently separated, is when his kids are struggling with the divorce. Let's talk about that one, Pastor KL.
Yeah, when you have younger children, it's difficult, especially when you have been the Superman or you have been the hero, and now my Superman is gone. They don't know how to process that this is best for the relationship. You know what I mean? Because daddy's gonna be daddy whether daddy's married or divorced. He's supposed to be daddy, but they can't process it because their way of thinking and their way of living has always been me, mommy, and daddy. So now that daddy's gone, they don't know how to process that. Older children can deal with it a little better. You know what I mean? But they can't process it that way.
Yeah, when children are involved, man, it definitely complicates issues,
Right.
because now you've got another person's emotions to consider.
Mhm.
And children, they don't accept the divorce sometimes so readily or so easily. So now he's got to deal with, and I'm talking about the real situation. I'm not talking about no man putting in all things. But, the children play a big part in this. The children play a big part as to how either parent jumps up and moves forward. Because you also have this whole thing with dating. Eventually, mommy and daddy may date. And now you've got this whole issue with the children. Are they going to welcome the new people? How are they going to act when the new people are around? A whole situation here.
Well, it's a lot because now you got to deal with the attitude of you ain't my daddy or you ain't my mama, and then subconsciously, I don't even think parents are aware of it. They want to know about the other woman or they want to know about the other man. So when you go over there, what did he do? How he treating you? What did she say to you? You ain't got to listen to her. She ain't your mama. You know what I mean? So it becomes toxic because you put the child in the middle. You teach the child to be respectful of adults, but this adult you ain't got to respect.
Right. And don't tell my kid what to do. And
Right.
don't, they can't say this and they can't say that. You're right. All of this stuff becomes, a part of everybody's relationship now. So this is really a very difficult situation. And this is why dealing with a person when they're recently separated and divorced is really a hard task. Definitely. We got a couple more before we go. Let's see. Oh, he might be using you. That's another reason why you got to be careful when you're dating a man who's recently separated. Pastor KL, what say you about that one?
Oh, this is true. I mean, is the separation is because you kept on catching me cheating and now you put me out? Now I ain't got no place to stay. So, baby, you look good. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, I'm not with my wife anymore. I'm ready to move on. And the biggest part, man, listen, the biggest cheaters is people in the church. Because the first thing they say is, God told me you was my wife. God told me I was supposed to be with you. But then my question was like, well, what did God tell you about the woman you just got a relation with? So you only listen to God sometimes? You know what I mean? How all of a sudden now God, and then, people in the church, they get caught up. Oh, God said that's my husband, so I got to get with him. But then you move him in. Did God tell you to shack? Did God tell you how to sleep together? I mean, how many things are you listening from God? Because there's a whole lot of things that God said don't do, but that one thing, God said this is my husband, so that means it cancels out every other sin we do?
Absolutely. Ooh, good stuff. Let's see what else. Starting a relationship with stress is another reason why you got to be careful when you're dating a man who's recently separated, Pastor KL.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that first one. Starting a relationship, what?
With stress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you stress, listen, if you stress, you bring in stress. I mean, that's the bottom line. There's no peace when you're stressed. You know, if every day you wake up and say, I gotta go to that job, you're not gonna have a good day. Before you got in there, you was already regretting the fact that you gotta go to work.
Yeah.
So what you do is see what we do is we make the best of it. Don't mean we happy because we made the best of it. Listen, people who stay in relationships for their children make the best of it for their children. It doesn't make you happy. The wife is still annoyed. You still annoyed, but we're making the best of it. You know, when you make the best of stuff, you're walking around stressful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Serge says there's a coworker of mine who cheated on the new relationship with their child's partner. Stress. Boy.
Retardation.
Okay, that's how we can make it. Oh my goodness gracious. There's a yeah. We really can make a mess of things. Oh, Pastor KL and my due time crew. Thank you so much for today's conversation and your contribution. We pray you have a blessed day.
You as well. Love you.
Thank you. Love you too. Whoa, these some conversations. It is the top of the hour on a Monday morning. And you know what that means? That means it is the switch with Shantice. Let's say good morning to Shantice. Good morning, Shantice.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Pastor Steph?
You sound like you're a little far, but I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am well, thank you. I'm well, thank you. What you got for us today?
Today I have the switch with Shantice, where we make the switch from the streets to our godly seat. And I want our switch tip to be make sure you stay warm. Okay, but I gotta make sure I bring this. If y'all get one of these, y'all gotta hit Pastor Steph up because she be preparing me, y'all. It's cold out here, and I got on my little snuggly thing. It's making me a little more comfortable to deliver this switch tip that God gave us that's been sticking with me for the past few weeks, which is our switch tip 211. Stop being basic. Now, there's a reason why we need to make sure that we're not basic anymore, okay? Ever since we did a study a couple of weeks ago, that's really been sticking with me. And when I Googled the definition of basic, of course it gave me like regular stuff here and there, but I had to go into like the street definition because that's really what stood out to me. Basic, someone or something as unoriginal, mainstream, and lacking in individuality, particularly when referring to people who conform to popular trends and preferences without much personal flair, meaning without their own personal style, or someone who enjoys things that are widely considered common or expected. And after going over the lessons that we've been going over, the series Making Friends for God, it's like, Dad, how many parts of the series do we have? But we have to make sure, well, God has to make sure he's covering all bases when it's talk about making friends for him, because there's so many layers to that. And I was watching a couple of inspirational videos. It was talk about being okay with being mediocre, being okay with being basic. And when God continues to call you to him and he calls you to higher and higher heights, he's requiring you to be less and less basic, less and less unoriginal. You have to make sure that you're not conforming to these streets and how the streets tell you to talk, how the streets tell you to view things, how the streets tell you to hear things, because these streets will jack you up. And one of the things that I continue to tell the kids that I have access to is don't start getting all caught up with these stupid habits, because there's no such thing as being embedded in a habit and then waking up the next day like, oh, I'm woke. Okay, I no longer do these things. No, it is a lot to come out of these habits. And it's a lot to come out of being basic, because as I'm continuing my walk with Christ and in God. God is putting it on my heart to desire more and more in Him. But once you realize the process of getting to that more and more, the process of getting to that excellence, the process of getting to who you really are, you want to say, to hell with that. Let me stick to being basic, because there's no effort in being basic. You wake up, you might brush your teeth for those who brush their teeth. You might bathe every day. You go to work if you want your own money. And you come home, you go to bed, you do the same thing all over again. There's not much work to that. What are you really doing? What's really original in that? Nothing. But when God says, okay, I'm going to put it on your heart to really want the things that I want for you. And a lot of times when you think about when you were basic, but we're going to speak into existence when you were, and you think about the people that you look around, you're like, okay, dag, well, they talk a good game. I know a lot of people, because they're like me, a lot of people who talk a good game. I want this, I want that, I want. But yet you look and you like, but you ain't doing nothing. And it's because they're starting to realize the process to getting to what they want. And they're like, okay, I'd rather fall back. But Matthew 7:13-14 in the Amplified Version, Jesus said, enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad and easy to travel is the path that leads the way to destruction and eternal loss, and there are many who enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow and difficult to travel is the path that leads the way to everlasting life, and there are few who find it. So there are many people who are going to be and stay basic. But there are only few who are going to find the road that leads to originality, find the road that leads to our version of perfection. And when I say our version, not the version we make up, but how Jesus says we're perfect in our own way. Few people are going to find the process and actually stick to that road. So when you see the masses do things, you really need to take that to God and analyze it, because 9 times out of 10, that ain't the road you need to be on. That ain't the door you need to be walking through. Isaiah 64:8 in the Message Version reads, still, God, you are our Father. We're the clay and you're our potter. All of us are what you made us. Not who we said, but what you make us. And of course, see that I don't know if y'all have a favorite verse in the Bible. I remember someone asking me a few years ago, what's your favorite verse? I'm like, I don't know. Listen, there's a whole lot of verses. We got 66 books in this Bible. Some chapters got the book of Psalm has how many? 100 and something chapters. How do I know? But Romans 12:2. And this week I'm reading the Amplified Version. I think a switch tip or two ago, God brought this verse up again. Okay. Romans 12:2 Amplified Version, and do not be conformed to this world any longer with its superficial values and customs, but be transformed and progressively changed as you mature spiritually by the renewing of your mind, focusing on godly values and ethical attitudes, so that you may prove for yourselves what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect in his plan and purpose for you. Now, does that sound like we even serve a basic God? Because let me tell you something. I've been wanting to be very, very basic these past few weeks. I feel like there's people, one person in particular, that's been trying me. And God has just been the Holy Spirit. God has been instructing the Holy Spirit to bring back to my remembrance certain switch tips, like our very first one, possess that quiet strength. Don't dim your light. And every time I'm like ready to take myself there, or ready to allow my flesh to take me there, the Holy Spirit calms me down. It's like, go read the verse of the day. And the verse of the day will say something like, do not be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. It's like See, it's real basic to cut somebody out, especially for someone like me, because I don't be feeling like people be understanding me. I don't feel like they understand my plight and how serious it is until I start cussing people and cutting them off. But that's basic. Who doesn't do that? But it takes a lot to follow the words of Jesus. Like when Jesus says, if they hit you on the left cheek, turn and let them hit the right cheek, or whatever cheek they hit first. That's not basic. Okay, so we have to make sure we're making a conscious decision of making the switch from being basic to making sure we are being our original, custom-made form of who God created us to be. Thank you, Pastor Steph.
You. What's the title of your switch tip again?
Stop being basic.
All righty. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. We pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we got to check in from our Deacon Diallo. Thank you so much for joining us, Deacon Diallo. Let's get that benediction. Let's see which one we're going to use today. I like this one for our switch tip. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, you may abound in hope. Romans 15:13. Stop being basic. That gets tied in to our main topic for today. Reasons why we need to be careful when we're dating a man who's recently separated. Listen, don't be basic. It takes a lot to think outside the box. It takes a lot to work outside the box. Like Shanti said, it's real basic. It's real easy to be basic, rather. When we talk about the fact that he thinks he's ready to date and he's not, you've got to be able to detect that. You've got to be able to take that discernment that the Spirit of the Lord gives you and be able to hear, listen for certain things, think about what the person is saying. You can't be basic and be on it. That's not going to happen. It says he has one foot in the door of a marital household, if he's even out of it at all. Please don't be basic. Again, people tell you a whole lot of stories. I mean, for the kids, we sleep in separate bedrooms. We really not together. Man, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to step out of being basic. We think about the piece of advice that we're giving here that says, he's struggling with the divorce. The kids are struggling with the divorce. He might be using you. Listen, starting a relationship with stress is not the way to go at all. It's all easy to do when you're thinking on a basic level. The God we serve is a God of elevation. Jesus said, I did not come to give you life, but I came to give you life more abundantly. Already right there, that tells us that we're not supposed to live a basic life, because a basic life is just living. Living abundantly is that step up. That's that step up out of the basic arena. I don't want to live a basic life. I don't want to live a basic life. I want to live the life that God has given me that's abundant. When we think about not starting a relationship with stress, when we think about the fact that somebody is starting a relationship with us that, and he might be using us or she might be using you. It's just not one-sided, but that's the article. So that's why we use the terminology. It's something that you have to stay before the Lord for. Some people just want to be in a relationship, but that's not the smart thing to do. When we step out of a relationship, we have to pay attention, period. We have to pay attention to where we are after the relationship is over. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to step back and assess who you are. Because after every relationship, we're different. We've just gotten finished experiencing some new things. We've just gotten finished accepting some new things. We've just gotten finished rejecting some new things. And there are going to be times where, we're really going to be shaken up. And there are going to be times when we're going to be able to just simply walk off. But either way, whether you're shaken up after the relationship or whether you're walking off okay and calm and peaceful, you still need some transition. There's some time for transition that you need. You really need to go back over that relationship and take it all and give it to God. And and here's why. God may have told you to accept some things. Yeah, he may have said, I need you to accept that because of what he needs to happen for that person or what he may have need to happen for you. So you've got to accept some things. Now, I'm not talking about abuse and things like that. You know where I stand on that. But you have to take and give that all to God because that may not be for the next situation. And that's what happens with a lot of relationships. We think going forward that because God may have instructed us to do something today, that's supposed to be forever and ever. Amen. No, it may be different based on who you are when you enter the next relationship and based on who the relationship is with that you're going into. We have to be smart. And one of the smart things to do is to not be basic and go from one relationship to the next without giving that entire relationship to God and letting God separate what you need to do going forward and what you need to leave behind going forward, because it all matters. There is no way in the world we serve a God where everything is cookie cutter. It doesn't work like that. And when we look at the instances that we talked about this morning about moving forward, you got to know that in order for you to know how to move forward, you need to give that to God. And the reason why I say give the entire relationship to God, because there may be things that you may have forgotten. If you're in a relationship for 5 years, you're not going to remember every single thing that happened in that relationship. But if you give that relationship to God, yes, even after it's over, you give that entire relationship to God, then God will be able to call out some things that he needs you to pay special attention to. And when you decide to take and give that relationship to God, then you step out of being basic. Because do you know what it takes to give a relationship to God, whether you're in the relationship or whether it's after the relationship? Because giving that relationship to God when you finish the relationship prepares you for how you will move forward. That means that you'll be automatically giving the next relationship to God. Oh, see, pay attention. That's how we step out of being basic. Because see, God is expanding your thought process. God is breeding thinkers. He can't breed thinkers when you're basic. Because all you do is think like this. But we need people that think like this. Yeah. We could think people think across, higher, and diagonally. You're being stretched. And that's what it is not to be basic. When people don't want to change, you're basic. When people don't like change, you're basic. How do you serve a God who is a changing God because he needs to change from time to time? Yes, we know that it's the same God yesterday, today, and forevermore, but that's not a God that is not an evolving God. There are things that are changing in this world, and God has got to prepare you to move. If you keep talking about how you don't like change, you're a basic individual. You're not serving that great big wonderful God, because that great big wonderful God needs you to move with the times. We're about to go into a point where we have to upgrade our ID. And if you're the type of person talking about, well, listen, because remember I told you, in order to get this ID, you've got to now give your birth certificate, or, you have to establish who you are. You have to establish your social security. So that means taking new documents, despite the fact that you've done all these 6 points already. And now you're saying, I don't want to have to do all of that. I'll just keep the same thing. And now go down the line, and now you can't move. You need to travel, but you can't travel because you don't have a new ID. The new God says, go with the flow. Change and make the proper adjustments. I don't like change. I don't want to have to give up that information. In order for me to get this driver's license, I had to do it already. I don't want to have to do it again. I just don't like change. Stop. That is not the God we serve. There is an Old Testament and there is a New Testament. Does that sound like one God? Does that sound like the God who ain't never moved? There's a reason why the Bible is split. Because there's an old way and then there's a new way. And when Jesus came, he said, I didn't come to abolish, but I came to live it out. So what God did was he said, you know what? I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm not just going to give you this information. I'm going to send you a living example. That means that God stepped the game up, but you're going to still lay in the background because you don't like change. Stop being basic. That's not serving God. Let's get this together. Stop letting people move on past you. Brand new people are coming into this world that's moving straight past you. You still sitting up here talking about I don't like change. I've heard 40, 50-something-year-old people talk about they don't like change. Stop. In 50 years, nothing's changed. You're going to have to change. In 60 years, nothing's changed. You're going to have to change. I love today's, I started off this morning saying how I loved last week's. I love this week's switch tip. Stop being basic. And like I said, when we partner it up with what we just got finished talking about with the main topic, automatically that tells us stop being basic. Because in order to consider the things that we talked about today, that means you're going to have to expand that way of thinking. You can't think everybody's a liar. All because the last 4 people lied. Can't think everybody's a liar. So come on, let's get this together. All right. We are sponsored today by Craft Corner, the person that brings us these wonderful mugs, whether it's this kind of mug or it's a ceramic mug. Yes, she does it all. Make sure you hit her up. The information is in the chat room. Oh, this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful shirt today that I've got on was manufactured by, is personalized. Your embroidery manufacturers, check them out. Anything you want done, they can do it pretty much. Yes, there are, a few limitations, but they can get it done. All right. Make sure you pay attention to everything that we say here on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, because you want to make sure you grow. Okay. You've been listening to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank our Due Time crew for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us. I love this chat room, and I love the fact that I can see it. Thank you, God. That's that God who's not just basic, but he expands our thinking and gave us the answer as to how Pastor Steph can see what you're talking about. Please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares. Where it's Let's Talk About It Tuesday, Church Folk Day. Until then, I love you.